Hello everybody, this is Maja and Tony at work, and today we're going to be answering some frequently asked questions about energy accounting.
Yeah.
So, let's do that.
Let's go. Hi, I'm going to read the question. Maya's going to reply and then I may add some various thoughts. Now, Maya, what to do when you aren't sure what gives you energy?
Yes. So this is a tricky question that we've gotten a few times now, and I think it's really important to address it because when you begin using energy accounting, you may be someone who's suffering from chronic depression, or you may be dealing with long-term burnout, or you may simply be someone who has some challenges with interoception, and so you may have difficulties noticing the signals of something perhaps giving energy, and of course we have a negative bias. Our brains have a negative bias, so we're much more prone to noticing when something takes energy for us rather than when something is restorative.
Yes, that's one of the strange things, is you're often much more conscious of it draining from you than actually coming in. It's almost as though you're numb to that sensation.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so what to do when it's difficult for you to notice that? So the first thing that I would address is, what do you expect it to feel like when something gives you energy? What's the sensation you're looking for and maybe not noticing? Because there may be some differences with regard to that. So when we say something gives you energy, there may be some people who expect that it's a feeling of, outbursts of joy or outbursts of big energy.
Yes, it's a sudden shock, but it's much more subtle than that.
It may well be, and so is noticing different states of positive energy. Does it give you a feeling of joy or of calm or of focus perhaps, or some other version of positive?
I mean,
that's the first thing to notice.
Yeah, I think there can be a feeling that is in thinking and aware of your thinking, that does this feel I can do it or I can't do it? I feel heavy or light. So it's those sort of reactions that you're going to get. Yeah.
And then, of course, if this is still something that's hard for you to notice the differences between, does it make me feel heavy, does it make it feel light, these kinds of things, if that's still something you find difficult, that's perfectly okay. We'll take a step back and we'll look at behavioral cues, cues from stress and well-being symptoms, and these may very well be external things that other people may help you observe. So it's not necessarily that you have to be able to feel what's happening, because that can be very difficult for some people, especially people who have been taught more or less not to feel what's going on inside of us, which that happens to many neurodivergent people. So is those external cues.
It is. I also think if you are experiencing depression and burnout, then it's hard to perceive something as being positive. There's almost an anhedonia. You're immune from positive feelings. And it's not a fault within the person, it's actually a symptom of their depression. And if you have that difficulty in perceiving it within yourself, also remember that other people who know you well and have been supporting you may have some idea from their experience of observing you of what gives you energy and what drains you of energy. Sometimes the last person to know is the person who's actually doing energy accounting themselves. But there may be people who could say, these are the things that I've noticed, that you have more optimism, more energy, more can-do. These are the sorts of things that can help.
Yeah, and if there really is nothing that you can say, yes, this might be something that gives me energy, then look for something that's more neutral. Because when you are very depressed, if you are severely clinically depressed, it might very well be, as you say, the anhedonia is so complete that there's nothing, even
I can't feel anything.
even
Yes.
things that used to be your passions. Well, then what about if we can look for things that aren't as negative, look for things that are closer to being neutral, and those will be the things we'll zoom in on to begin with.
Yeah, I think one of your points there was the passions or the interests that previously used to be so recognizably beneficial in that person's life, and you suddenly feel, but I'm not getting anything from my collection of butterflies anymore. And that's really a sign
From
of
my
depression.
writing, or from my academic pursuits, or
Yeah.
whatever it might be. And it might, sometimes there's actually almost a flip side to it, where because it used to be such a source of joy, if you're in a severe depression, there can almost be a sense of bitterness about those interests, that it used to be so wonderful and now it's not, and I hate it now a little bit because it's not what it used to be. And what I find often is, if you're trying to force it, if you're trying to force yourself to be back at where you used to be, that might actually hinder your recovery from a chronic depression, because you're trying to make yourself get better faster than what's possible. So set easier goals. Let's get realistic. Let's not focus on.
Don't challenge it. Give it a try.
No, but I just find very often that there's pressure, sometimes from within the person, but sometimes also from society at large. Is get better. Why don't you?
Yes.
And
pull yourself together.
yeah, and we can't. Sometimes recovery from a really long chronic depression, that takes a long time, and that's not your fault. And if we're trying to push that recovery and stressing about it, then we're actually making it worse.
Yeah.
So find things that are closer to neutral, find things that are, I guess that's okay, and then focus on those. Focus on the...
Don't look for the big punch.
Yeah.
Look for something that has an effect, but is not as grand an effect as you may be anticipating.
Yeah. So those may be things to do.
Yeah.
So, Tony, one of the other questions that we very often get about energy accounting is some version of, I've tried everything else, so why is energy accounting going to help?
Well, you haven't tried it yet, and one of the ways that you'll find whether it's successful or not is giving it a try. But we quite understand there can be hesitation in having had a long history of failures. Why is this going to be any different? I think there are a number of factors associated with that. Now, it may be that you're autistic, in which case this is very autism friendly. It's designed by yourself, so there is authenticity associated with that.
Autistic psychologist.
Yeah, exactly. Now, a lot of other therapies and interventions are designed by non-autistic people, and you're supposed to fit into their approach. So this is going to be, in some ways, unlike some of the other therapies. It doesn't involve a deep analytical, theoretical model. It was actually born from practical experience of everyday life, and that means that it's not founded in established theories that have filtered down to energy accounting. Energy accounting began by bringing up from actual experiences. So it's a different approach that is well worth considering.
And is still evidence-based in the sense that we've been doing this clinically for 10 years now, and so we have quite a history of actually seeing it work, not just for me, but for actually hundreds and hundreds of people.
Yeah, it's something that you will start to realise is starting to have a positive effect. How long it will take for that to occur and what effectiveness it will have in your life isn't determined. But there are no side effects. It's not like taking medication where you'll have all these lists of side effects and so on. There's no side effects. There's no blame attached to any of it that, oh, I'm at fault because I can't do it. So it's something that is actually very logical, simple, and it's well worth a try.
I think one of the important parts of what makes energy accounting different from a lot of other approaches is that it is neurodiversity affirming. So this is not an approach that's going to say, here's what you need to achieve. It's rather an approach that says, what's going to be a good life for you and how do we get there? And I think for some of the people who ask this question in various forms, what I get from the way they ask the question is actually, you know, I've tried to fit into all these other boxes and I don't fit in them. Well, no. Let's try reframing that question and saying, no, you're not trying to become the way you perceive other people to be. You're not trying to become neurotypical, or you're not trying to become,
Very true. Yeah.
you know, someone who can do a full-time job if you're not someone who can do a full-time job. That's not what we're trying to do with energy accounting. We're trying to say, you know, using this method, how can we figure out what life works for you? What a good life is for you? And how can we create that environment and give you the strategies you need to get the most you can out of it? So it's not something about changing you. It's not something about...
Yes, you're not defective, but needs correcting.
No.
Life's tough, especially if you're neurodiverse, but there are some strategies that you can use, and I think your concept there of quality of life is what we're looking for. We're not looking for a cure of whatever it is. It's to improve the quality of life. And if you've got a good quality of life, you're less likely to be depressed, agitated, and anxious too.
Yeah. And then, you know, it's also that a lot of these strategies that are out there are very overly optimistic. I don't want to criticize because, you know, I think mindfulness, for example, is wonderful. I love mindfulness.
Yeah.
It has so many qualities that work for so many people. But sometimes when people present mindfulness to you for the first time, it's like, oh, you just do this thing and then you're happy.
Yeah.
And that's not how it works, and that's not really how anything works.
No, it isn't. One of the things of mindfulness is mind, it's thoughts. But certainly with autism, sometimes you need actions rather than thoughts. And so it's the actions that can bring a sense of well-being. It's what do you do rather than what you think. You can do both, they're not mutually exclusive. But quite often the actions are what you need. Yeah.
And energy accounting, of course, involves bringing in other strategies and seeing which parts of those strategies may work for you. So bringing in mindfulness is an option and saying, is that something that can work for you for some things on some level? Great, let's use it. But it's not forcing it, and it's not saying you have to do that one particular thing.
Yeah. I think also when you're doing the assessment of the things that drain you of energy or infuse you with energy, when we're looking at the infusions, there's a huge range. Sometimes you are very narrow in perceiving what can help me. But when you're doing the detailed assessment that can occur with energy accounting, you're realizing there is a variety of things that I could do. I have a choice. I am in control. It's not what the therapist tells me to do. It's what I want to do. And that can help enormously. Yeah.
Now, there's another question that almost invariably comes along with this one. Which...
Yes, I'm going to read for you. Okay, we're going to take it in turns in doing this.
Yeah.
Now, I'm worried about not being good at energy accounting and failing it.
Yeah. Yeah, so this is almost the flip side of that same question, but sometimes they really do go along with one another. It's, you know, this seems hard, or it seems like something that's insurmountable, or, you know, since these other strategies have not worked for me, what if this is just another failure? And then blaming yourself for that. And I want to say that there's no way of failing at energy accounting, because any little bit of that journey that you're going on is going to be helpful. Even if it's, you know, one time having a conversation about what gives you energy, or what takes energy from you in various ways, or noticing signs, stress symptoms, well-being symptoms about yourself. Any little conversation that you have, or any time that you take to maybe write in your diary about it, you know, that is contributing to your self-understanding, and it's contributing to your journey of actually approaching that better life. And so I don't think there's a way of failing at energy accounting.
Yes, there's no test.
No. And
There's no graduation ceremony.
No.
Or you've done this questionnaire and your scores now show that you're cured.
No.
It doesn't work like that.
No, and there's no bar to reach other than the one you're setting for yourself. So, you know, I know that this is very difficult, and I know it's very difficult because in part I've been in that situation, but that way of thinking of, I have to get to this specific point, and it's so far from where I am, it makes it feel like you can never get there. And my way of approaching it now is to say, no, let's flip it around, and let's say any tiny step that I take on this journey is a success on its own.
Yeah, and seeing it as a journey, not a destination.
Yeah, which is very hard, honestly. As an autistic person, I find that very hard. But it's something that over time I've had to learn how to reframe that for myself, because life is not a destination. But also at the same time, I'm going to bring in mindfulness again, Tony.
Okay, do.
Okay.
Do. Okay.
So I always thought that I was very, very bad at mindfulness. So I'm autistic and ADHD, or DHD, as we say now.
Yeah.
Plus some other things. You know, it's life. But so when I tried mindfulness for the first time, I've got stray thoughts coming in.
You're failing. You're not doing.
Yeah,
You're a disappointment.
It's so hard, you know, to focus on your breath. I can't do it. And it was years later. I met someone who's actually in charge of a very large mindfulness program in Denmark, and one of the things he said was, well, no, those thoughts, those stray thoughts, that's normal. That's a part of it.
Yeah.
That happens to everyone when they're doing mindfulness meditation. It's what makes it mindfulness meditation isn't not having those stray thoughts. It's actually accepting that those stray thoughts come in and saying, well, okay, there was another stray thought. That's fine. We're going to go back to what we were doing. And that sort of rehearsal. And what also actually worked for me was adding physical movement on top of that, because my ADHD can't stand having to sit still for 10 minutes and doing mindfulness. So I have to, you know, but it's like, okay, I thought I was very bad at that because I hadn't gotten the explanation. And I think it's the same thing with energy accounting, is that if you think you're supposed to achieve everything all at once, then we're very sorry, then we've written the book wrong. But the point is not to do everything. The point is to do what you can and what feels good.
Yeah, and to enjoy life. And in many ways, it's looking at you, as we said, the quality of life of that individual is what we're looking for. It'll be different for each person, and the things that bring you energy and drain you of energy is going to vary from person to person, but also change according to the stage of life that you're experiencing. So this is something that is a companion on your journey through life. How do I start on my own if I don't have a support person, therapist, or other person to help me?
Yes. Okay, well, I mean, that really depends on your learning style and your thinking style. So I think if you're someone who finds it very difficult to do the energy bank, what gives me energy, what takes energy, then you want to start kind of from the opposite end and saying, okay, let's use some monitoring strategies. And maybe looking at some behavioral cues and then taking from that and saying, okay, what happened on those days, and using your pattern recognition to go from there and saying, okay, when this is what happened and this was the result, what can I analyze out of that?
Now, that's a good point, because when you say pattern recognition and systems, for an autistic person, that's often a talent.
Yeah.
Is identifying patterns in your life, which can either be energy depleting or energizing in many ways. So you're looking for the pattern. So the first the initial stage is observation, without judgment, and just observing. Are there any patterns? After I've been to a big social occasion, I'm absolutely exhausted the next day. That's fairly obvious. But then there are more subtle things that come on and realise, well, hang on a moment, just think back in the past. I've had this. Wow, no wonder I'm drained. I'd not seen, if I put all those together, it's that.
Yeah, and sometimes it's small factors, and sometimes it's tricky to figure out. But if you do take some time to record, what happened and what was the result, eventually those patterns will emerge. Now, if you're someone who's very good at starting with sitting down and making a list and putting some numbers on that list, then start there and work your way from there. What does balance look like for me in a day, in a week, and how do I then go about planning my life? And I think a big part of it is knowing that if you're doing this all by yourself, there are going to be things you miss because one mind won't catch all of the things. But whatever you do catch is going to be good. Whatever patterns you find, whatever analysis you make, that's going to be a benefit. So do it. And for a very long time, I was doing this on my own. And I think it made it take longer because I didn't have that therapist or that mentor to work with me and to help me in the analysis. Also because I was building it one little brick at a time. But it made it take longer, but it was possible. So it's definitely doable, even if you're on your own.
Yeah.
But then also, we've got so many resources today. There are so many people who put information online that might be useful. There are so many good books to read as well that you can draw inspiration from, where you can say, oh, this person describes this. How does that translate to energy accounting? If it's something that you relate to. So seek advice from books, from influencers, frankly, although be critical of from whom you seek advice, because different people definitely come from different backgrounds and have different levels of self-criticism in what they present.
You can feel on your own in a variety of ways, and that may be true that you haven't got those connections. As you're saying, there is the possibility of connecting with other people on the internet.
Yeah, internet forums.
Yes, it can be very good, and just find out what other people have discovered. video recording is available from a website, and that may be an opportunity to connect with other people. Of just how did you cope on your own, and then you'll get half a dozen people saying this, that, and the other happened. And so it's seeking advice from those who have been in the same situation.
So, Tony, we very frequently get questions from usually parents asking, how do I work with energy accounting? My child is so young.
Well, first of all, young kids wouldn't know what a bank balance is like.
No.
And also sometimes you could use a balance, but many young kids say, what's a balance? So one of the things that we were talking about before we started this recording, you were suggesting you can actually just have a line.
Just draw a
and
line.
you just draw the line to measure the strength of various things, so that they may, in a sense, not having to give a numerical value, they can just point to a particular position on the line. And the adult may look at quantifying that in a particular way.
And then it's just to define for them, what does the line start at and what does it finish at? So the line may start at nothing, and the other end is, this is a lot.
Yes, this is one of the things, though, that can help, and that is if a parent starts to demonstrate and model using energy accounting. And so they can just tune in, and a parent may say, at the end of the day, I had this, this, and this, and that was there. Heavy. Now, what I need to do is get my energy back. I have a choice. I can do that. Today, I think I'll do a bit of that and a bit of that. So if they can see someone doing it, then it gives them greater confidence in it. But one of the things that can be a benefit to children is that in the actual infusion of energy, you have a choice, and you say to the child, you can do this, this, and this. And many kids like to make the choice rather than being told what you must do and think. So for young kids, often the parents will know that child pretty well, know the sorts of things that are going to drain them from their behavior, their tendency to burst into tears, all those sorts of things, and what makes them smile, what makes them energized and happy. So in many ways, parents are starting to do this anyway, but this is making more formal. But it's allowing that child to be able to give a variation, because there's going to be variations from day to day. On some days, it's going to be on the line, right up there. But on another day, they woke up and they're pretty good. And it's the same situation. It's only that. Your perception and reaction is going to change from day to day. So it's something that you can get the child to indicate and have confidence. Now, the important thing is that when they do that, to validate it.
And we don't trust it.
We don't.
Even fairly young children, we actually fairly often see that they're right when they say this is, a 3 or this is a 5.
Yeah, and the risk can be, your parents say, no, it's not that bad. No, you're making a mountain out of a molehill.
Or the opposite. You're saying it's only that, but I think it's actually much more. But very often the child is right. Yes,
it is. So basically, to validate, what matters is the child's perception of the situation, but also the child's perception of what strategies to use at that time. So it's non-judgmental listening, it's accepting that is their valuation of whatever it is, but then their suggestion, rather than the parent saying, no, that's not going to work. No, you need to do this. It's the child's choice.
Yeah. And very often, because we work with autistic children, we see children that have a very set view of what the world should be. But very often, if we go with that, there's reasons for it. And it actually makes sense.
Yeah.
Now, what I would say is a lot of parents find it difficult to begin using energy accounting with their young child, especially if that child is masking. And it can be very difficult to spot those behavioral cues. So I would encourage, taking into account latent reactions to stress. So stressful reactions to situations can occur minutes, hours later, sometimes even the next day.
Yes, there's going to be processing time sometimes.
Yeah.
So one of the difficulties is when the child comes home from school. How was school today? Right, okay, let's have a look with energy accounting. Let's go through. They're still processing it. They still don't know how strong it was. But the second point on that is you do need to liaise with the school because there can be events that are going on at school that the teacher is aware that it was draining, but the child themselves may not be quite so aware. One of the things could be too many changes, too many people, teachers in a cranky mood, etc. It really does infect you, especially if you're autistic. So other people will need to know about it and bring in some suggestions. So if you are dealing with a young child, if you've got a range of descriptions and valuations of what those are in life to that individual, but what are the things that you can use to energize? Teachers need to know because they're going to need to use those strategies in school time. Yeah.
And then, of course, if you've got a child who's old enough to actually work with you in talks about what gives energy, what's draining, all of that, then they still might not be able to put up with quite so long discussions as an adult would. So, but that's perfectly okay. Let's have shorter sessions.
And not huge long lists.
Exactly. Let's do 5 or 10 minutes of talking. Rather than trying to do an hour. That's perfectly fine. We don't need to do everything all at once.
Okay, Maja.
Yes.
Using the energy bank method actually takes too much time or energy because it's hard. I want to include all the details and triggers, especially if you have PDA. What to do?
Okay. Yeah. So it's the energy bank method, of course, is where we write down either just doing a few brainstorms here and there or daily kind of what happened today, what gave energy, what took energy. And sometimes what happens is people will want to do everything and go into detail.
Oh, yes.
And I understand why you want to do that because everything is important to an autistic mind. I definitely have been in that trap myself. But here's the thing. That's going to be a burden for you. Energy accounting on itself will become a stress factor in your life if you're trying to do that.
Yeah.
And we don't want that. We want energy accounting to be a positive for you. So what I would encourage is to either start with other things, use monitoring strategies, distance yourself from going into details. Or if someone else can help you, maybe have them try to write things down and you can correct them on the things that really matter. But using that other person to actually be kind of your secretary.
Yes, to be your scribe or to clarify thinking, etc., can make it easier.
Yeah. And then my big thing is to kind of limit the scope. Is to say, okay, I could talk about every single thing that happened today, but that's going to take hours and hours and hours and hours. That will be the entire day. Let's not do that. Okay, so start with what we write about in the book is cluster activities. So everything can really be a cluster activity if we go down to it, but doing something like, okay, morning routine. What's in your morning routine? Let's open up that leaf and say, what are the lines in there? Okay, each line may have a different energy deposit or withdrawal to it, and even things like changing the routine may have a withdrawal, but if there's something within that routine that is particularly draining, maybe that's where we need to focus. So it's changing the scope from let's not go through the entire day, let's focus on the morning for now. And then when we've changed up the morning routine to make it work, then we focus on something else. So it's not writing down everything.
And as you say, it is a characteristic of many of the autistic individuals we see of actually coming to the point. What information is relevant and not relevant. So they give you everything.
Yeah.
And it's just the whole lot.
Yeah.
And camouflaged within that are the actual key bits.
Yeah.
But I don't know what's important at this stage, so I'll give you everything.
Yeah. Because everything is important.
Indeed it is. It has value.
Yeah. But it's, for me, it's that essence of saying, okay, which bits are then the high value items, either on the deposit or withdrawal side, is if it's costing or giving a lot, that's where we can use it.
Yeah. It's almost having sort of a threshold at which it is something to consider in the accounting to register it. Sometimes in accounting it's just a few krona or cents or pennies in that situation, and it's sort of written off as of no significance. But then there are some things that are definitely significant.
And we want to focus on those big items first. There's plenty of time in your life to delve into details. Lower the bar. Don't try to do everything all at once. You're not trying to get an A+ in energy accounting. You're trying to just learn something on the course. It's you're not here to get high marks. You're here just to be here and absorb what you can for now.
Yes, it is. It's not a test that you fail. If you choose not to use it, then that's your choice. People won't necessarily think the worst of you. We certainly wouldn't think the worst of you.
It's supposed to take the form that works for you. So change energy accounting to work for you. Don't try to change yourself to fit into energy accounting.
Yes, it is very much something that you need to modify according to your personality, your experiences, your circumstances are unique. And so there will be variation because you are unique.
So that's going into like wanting to include all the details. If it's hard, then it's a matter of what is it that's hard. If using the energy bank method is hard because interoception is difficult, or because putting into words what's happening is difficult, lists can help. Lists of energy deposit, energy withdrawals, stress symptoms, etc. All of that can possibly give you some pointers. But really what I want to say is if using the energy bank is difficult, then scrap it for now. Don't do it. Use another part of energy accounting. Use the bits that work for you. And maybe at some other point the energy bank is going to make sense, and maybe it won't. That's okay. You don't have to do that.
No, it's a conceptualization. It's a metaphor in a way that works for quite a considerable number of people. But you may have your energy accounting Mark II, which is your personalized accounting system.
And that's perfectly fine.
That's okay.
But then, of course, when we get to PDA, pathological demand avoidance, there's a different part that comes in. Which is, it's if the demand of energy accounting, of doing energy accounting, comes from somewhere external, then of course we know how to solve that problem. Is don't have that demand. Don't demand that of a person with a PDA profile. But very often people with a PDA profile will actually get triggered by their own internal demands.
I mean, in PDA, there's the external demands. People make requests of you. But there also can be internal demands of, I need to go to the toilet, or I need to do this, etc. So
Or
there
I
are
want to
externally,
do this, but I can't.
but I can't because it's a demand, and I would surrender my autonomy if I did that.
Yeah.
But there is a difference that is a very valuable component of energy accounting, and that's choice.
Yeah.
If somebody says, you must do this for energy accounting, then on principle, the positive is going to say, no, I'm not. But if you say, it's your choice, you can do this or this or this, it's up to you, your choice. And if a person with PDA feels, I've got a choice, I'm in control, it's up to me to decide, oh, that's okay then, I'll do that one, because it's my choice.
Yeah. But when it's an internal demand, sometimes what happens is we feel that, I want to do this thing, I've made the demand of myself that I'm supposed to do this thing, and I know that it makes sense to do it, but because it's on the list of things that I should be doing, maybe it's a physical list, maybe it's a mental list, but it's on the list and therefore I can't do it. It's an anxiety very often of, what if I can't? Or, well, what if I can't do it tomorrow then, even if I could do it today? Then it's going to feel like a failure tomorrow because I couldn't do it. Or, it's all of these tricky bits of that internal anxiety and the stopping. And it's almost like a complex PTSD.
Yeah.
That it's everything is a trigger. But you don't know what the trauma is because it's not one thing. It's all of the little demands that have happened throughout your life, and now demands are just impossible.
Yeah.
And what I find is that, well, it's not a demand then it's whatever happens to happen is fine for today. It's just fine. We reconceptualize, we reframe the question. We say, I know that this is something you want to do. I know it's an internal demand that you have of yourself and it's causing a lot of anxiety. But then what we need to do is remove that demand and say, it's not something you have to do. Even if you want to, it's not something you have to do. It's something that if it happens, great. And if it doesn't happen, okay, fine.
Yeah.
Tomorrow's another day. Next week is another week. The month after that is another month.
Yeah.
It's fine. There's nothing you have to do. There's no time limit. There's no deadline. There's no achievement. It's just whatever happens, happens. And whatever you have the energy to do today, whatever you can accomplish in thwarting your own PDA, however much you can battle with that today, that's enough. And then forgive yourself.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah.
Because living with a PDA profile can be really hard, not just because you can't meet the demands of other people, but certainly because you can't meet the demands of yourself.
Yeah. And you have huge complexities in terms of, usually there's a very powerful anxiety component, which may need to be addressed independently. Can also be signs of ADHD and so on. So it's a complex description,
Definitely.
but energy accounting will actually be suitable for all those conditions.
Yeah. And especially given that there's no bar, there's no exam, there's no achievement, it's just whatever we can do is fine.
Yeah, and you can choose what you want to do, and if you don't want to do anything, then there is no consequence. Yeah. Maja, how to convince someone who doesn't want to take part in therapy or other interventions?
Oh, gosh. Yeah. So we often see this with teenagers. Sometimes they've been just diagnosed, sometimes they've been diagnosed for a year or two, or sometimes they've just not had psychoeducation, so they've not been told about what is autism or what is ADHD, whatever their diagnosis is. But then they have kind of an allergic reaction to anything to do with therapy. It's as soon as we talk about psychologists or therapies or any kind of interventions.
I'm not mad. I'm not weird. I'm like everybody else. How dare you suggest that? I don't need pathologizing.
Yeah, and that's true. By the way, you know, we don't have to talk about autism. We don't have to talk about ADHD. It's not therapy. Energy accounting isn't therapy.
Yes, it's not an attempt to cure neurodiversity. It's to help you cope with life. So there can be a reaction.
And it's creating a good life for anyone. It's not autism exclusive. We've said this, actually, even when we were writing the book, we kept saying this, that we kind of have to write it for autistic people because that's our field. But we know, and we've always known, that energy accounting isn't autism specific. It's actually got nothing to do with autism in essence. It's just a way of looking at quality of life, of well-being, stress management, monitoring mental health. It's not something that has to have a diagnostic label attached to it. So the first thing we say is, if you've got someone who doesn't want to do anything therapeutic, anything that's an intervention, then, well, stop talking about therapy.
Yes, don't use diagnostic terms.
Yeah.
Because that's going to put them off. Yeah,
leave it out. And then the next thing I say, because it's usually parents asking this question, is, well, you're trying to make them do it, but obviously they don't want to do it because they think you want them to do it because of their diagnosis. So model it for yourself, you know, use it for yourself, and you know, allow your teenager to see that this is not something that only makes sense to do if you're autistic. Allow them to see that this is just something you can do, and it's actually perfectly normal. You know, I don't like the term normal. That's why I put it in quotes. I don't like that word.
Yeah, it's I don't know quite what the correct term would be. Well, I'd say it's common sense.
Yeah.
It's common sense. I mean, yeah.
It's just talking about how does it make sense for me to do things? Oh, I'm feeling a bit stressed out. Let's do something that'll restore me. Okay, you know, sometimes I'll encourage parents to have a conversation, not over the dinner table, but maybe as they're clearing up, the kids can still sort of hear it. They're not maybe in the room, maybe they're in an adjacent room, but we'll talk a bit loudly so they kind of overhear it. And just talk about, well, oh, you know, work was kind of rough today. I think I need something good. Oh, well, what do you need? Do you need maybe a cup of tea, or do you need a piece of chocolate maybe?
Oh, yes, please.
Would you like a hug?
Yes.
Is something we can do to re-energize you this weekend? You know, just start talking that way in the house, and it'll become more natural over time. Yeah. And maybe it won't. Maybe the teenager will be like, oh, my parents are doing this now, so it's entirely uncool. But I don't know.
I think another dimension is just obviously avoid pathologizing and using terms. But in other words, how will energy accounting help you in your current circumstances? Because you enjoy socializing,
what's the point?
But you're absolutely exhausted and you have found what your limits are. There are certain experiences that drain you, and if you're drained, you're not going to be able to concentrate on schoolwork, and it's going to affect your school grades. So in terms of social experiences, it's going to help you that you've got lots of energy when it starts and you know when to stop. It'll help you in terms of schoolwork, concentration, exams, but it'll help you in terms of the concept of self, in developing your resilience. to a range of things, that you can take things on knowing that you've got a strategy of ensuring you have the energy to make that commitment in a way. So it's how is it going to help you?
Yeah, and one of the ways that it actually almost always helps my teenage clients, and I tend to do this very quickly actually, is I'll have the parents talk to the teenager, or if the teenager is actually, if they've managed to get the teenager to me, then I'll do it by talking directly to them. But it's saying, okay, well, is being alone in your room, is that something that gives you a sense of calm or something? And usually the answer is yes. And I'll say, okay, well, do you then feel that if you get interrupted, if your parents suddenly open the door and you've not gotten a warning that that's going to happen, does that then take energy from you? Well, yes, it does.
Yeah.
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, okay, well, in energy accounting, what we're going to do is we're going to say, okay, being alone in your room is an energizer. Maybe you're playing the computer, maybe you're writing, maybe you're drawing, but what you can do, that's something that energizes you. But if you get interrupted, that suddenly sucks up all of that energy that you've just restored. So we're going to do something different. We're going to implement a strategy in the home. We're going to make a rule that your parents have to knock on your door before they open it. Or that they have to send you a text. No, but things like that.
It is very sensible, because when I am working, say, with the teenager, we're going through usually a big piece of paper or a whiteboard of these are the things that train you, these things energize you. But when it comes, parents will often say, yeah, I get that, and that, and yeah. What is quite a revelation for them often is the strength of those. And they had no idea that not knocking on your door in your bedroom out of 0 to 100, they think, it'll be about a 20, really doesn't matter. But the person concerned says, no, it's a 95. And
it takes away everything I've just restored.
Yes.
Yeah. No, I had this actually, a young person who they would spend time playing computer games in the evening before they went to bed, and this was their way of recharging for school the next day. And the thing is that the parent would then interrupt and say, aren't you going to bed soon, or something like that. And what would end up happening was, instead of needing 1 or 2 hours, they would then suddenly need 5 or 6 hours.
Because they've been interrupted.
Yeah.
Yes, from the effectiveness of it.
And what actually happened was, even if they tried going to bed and tried to fall asleep, they couldn't, because they hadn't recharged and reached that level of calm that they could actually go to sleep. And then it would eat up some of the hours that they were supposed to be sleeping. So what I try to do with very often young people who don't want to begin using energy accounting is, I'll try to make it practical and say, okay, well, this is about changing life around you to make it work.
And also appreciating life from your perspective.
Yeah.
Because if you've got somebody who's, I don't know where I'm doing this. Well, look, if you do energy accounting, people will legitimize and actually recognize what's going on in your life.
Because it's a way of communicating.
Yeah. It's a very effective way, because it's not face-to-face and necessarily going to end up in an argument. It can be looking at this, and you're looking at the information on there rather than face-to-face. And that's what I like, is you look at a whiteboard or a piece of paper rather than being personalised. Yeah, it is. It's not face-to-face, which for some individuals, they much prefer.
Yeah. And then, of course, if you've got a professional involved, like a psychologist or a support person, then if that person is the one communicating to the parents or to the school, sometimes the message comes through a bit clearer.
Yeah.
And in that way, energy accounting can make sense, even if you don't want to talk about your diagnosis.
Yeah, the parents will think, oh, they're amplifying this. It's not.
Yeah.
But then the therapist will say, no, it's actually true.
Yeah.
That perception there is genuine.
Yeah.
And then the autistic or teenager person said, yeah, he's right. He's right.
No, it's actually I've seen this happen so many times, and it's such a fun experience of the parents walking in and being like, well, now we're going to get validated, and that's very often not what happens.
It's usually the other way around. It's usually the neurodivergent person who's got their point across.
Yeah.
And the revelation tends to come from the parents or partner.
Yeah.
More than the neurodivergent person themselves.
Yeah. It's that experience of, oh, I didn't know it was that bad, or I didn't know this was so important to you.
And this is, I see why you have to do that when you come home from work.
Yeah.
Because you're so drained, and if not careful, I'm going to drain you even more by asking you to do this, that, and the other, or drain you by asking how was your day, and that can be very draining in itself. That you need to do that before you can reconnect with the family. Yeah.
And then if we allow you to do that, then you're actually energized and able to be
yes,
present.
and we all benefit.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess that is a bit of a longer discussion.
Yeah, but no, some good points there.
One of the questions that we sometimes get is, I'm X number of years old, or my child is X number of years old. Are they too young, or am I too old to start using energy accounting?
I don't think there's a question of being too young. If you're a very young person, it may be that a parent is involved with exploring what depletes and what energizes and so on. But throughout your life, you're going to get certain crises. You've got major exams coming up. You're finishing high school, you're finishing university and so on. And you realize that's tough. I need to make sure I have enough energy to be able to do whatever is required academically. The same is going to occur with jobs when you are promoted and you're having to learn all the new office politics or the new job requirements or all those sorts of things. So those are going to be more draining because you've got to concentrate on those things. I need enough energy to cope with that. There's also relationships. And this can be the making and breaking of relationships are going to very much affect your well-being and energy levels. It's the arrival of children, and unfortunately it can be quite draining, as you know.
I think all parents know. I mean, it's one of those things that just completely changes your life. And then, I mean, as you age, even after that, your children's challenges as they grow up. And
there's also issues that, for example, for women, menopause, which is going to be an issue of, it can affect neurodiverse people to a greater extent than non-neurodiverse. And there's also issues of your own aging. So once you are aware of energy accounting, it's something that you can take with you on the journey of life in many ways. So I wouldn't say that there is an age limit. It's just those things that will drain you will change over time. But also some other things will energize you. For example, some of the mature people that I've known have said, I discovered gardening. And that's great. I'm out in nature, I'm doing my plants. When I was 20, 30, oh, no, gardening, no. Only old people do that. Now, I love gardening. So it's finding those things. It's also discovering what other people may do to help them too. And say, I haven't really thought of going back to doing drawing, for example, and doing an art class. And I think that would be very appropriate. So the things that drain and the things that infuse you with energy will change through the lifespan.
As well as your support needs. I mean, the things that you need help with in life, and everyone has support needs, by the way. It's not something that's got to do with being disabled or not. It's everyone has support needs. No one is actually truly independent. It's a myth. But everyone's support needs changes throughout life. You know, it's what do you need when you're 5 years old isn't the same thing that you need when you're 20, when you're 40, when you're 60. And I have clients ranging from, you know, I think the youngest client, that was obviously their parent, but was about 3. And then I've got clients well into their 60s.
Yeah.
And that's... Energy accounting works for everyone.
It does. And it's also one of the advantages of starting off with primary school age children with energy accounting is that they're going to go through puberty. And with puberty, there are huge changes, physiology, friendships, in terms of demands from school, etc. So the physical, social and emotional changes associated with puberty can be very debilitating and draining. So if they've got a structure that has shown its value on relatively less intense circumstances, it's then much easier to apply as you go through puberty and beyond.
And again, even if you are 40, 50, 60, 70 years old, you can still pick up energy accounting and still benefit from it. It doesn't have a use-by date.
No. And there are certain other psychological, psychiatric factors to bear in mind. And that is episodic depression and or alcohol and drug dependency, disturbance in terms of psychosis and so on, is you want to prevent relapse. And one of the major causes of relapse is stress. And energy accounting is a stress management strategy. And so if you are better able to cope with stress, you are less likely to experience relapse. How much time should I be spending on energy accounting?
Ooh, yes. So obviously that will be different from person to person and depending on your circumstances. But what I tend to say is in the beginning, you may be using, a 1 hour session per week. And then depending on what you're doing in terms of monitoring strategies or whatnot, you may or may not be using 10 to 20 minutes during the day or in the evening before you go to bed. But fairly quickly, what should happen is that it becomes a maximum of 1 hour per week, that you kind of go through your schedule for the week, go through what's going to happen in the coming weeks or the coming month, and is there anything that I need to do right now to adjust in order to make sure that everything is still okay. And to have it be kind of a part of your weekly schedule to just monitor what's going on. And then what I would say is, if you're in a period of your life where everything is actually working quite well, if you have a good quality of life, you're quite happy, things are working out for you, then it's something you may do once in a while. Maybe once a month, maybe once every 3 months, you may kind of sit down and think, how is everything actually going? Where are my stress symptoms, my well-being symptoms? What's going on with that? Do I need to do 1 week of monitoring and just see what's actually going on, or where am I? But then it's kind of a just checking in sort of thing. Yeah,
it is. I use energy accounting myself. And I originally did a list of what drains me and what energizes me. Of course, things change. All sorts of things occur. So, and I've got it on my desk at work. So every so often when I've got a quiet moment, and it's not scheduled in, but what I will do is just have a look and go, the numbers of those have gone down, the numbers of that has gone up, that one's now disappeared. It was a problem, it's now not. And so it's like taking the car in for a service. and you're checking, are all the bits working? Is it doing too much? And one of the things we were talking before making this recording, that using energy accounting is a little bit like learning to drive a car. and you've got to change the gears, and you've got to look in the mirror, and you've got to check where we are to the side, and God, this is so exhausting. It takes so much time. It actually is energy depleting.
And it's so hard in the beginning.
Yeah, it is. But eventually, like driving a car, you do it subcortically, you do it automatically, and you can have a conversation or listen to a podcast while you're driving. It's subconscious. Yeah. So with greater familiarity and practice, there's less effort and time involved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what I find is that throughout my life, as I've developed and used energy accounting, I'm someone who, even though I've developed it for myself, I actually, during some periods of time, especially during my university years, I had to teach someone else how to have those conversations with me. Like I had to teach them what questions they had to ask me. Because going to school is something that's very stressful for me.
Yeah.
And so it's, even though it's something I want to do, it's something that's interesting for me, it's something that's very energy draining. And so during those time periods, I would actually meet up. It was 5.5 years for me. I would meet up with my mentor, who was actually just a year ahead of me at university. And we would spend 1 hour going through my week and going through, what do I need to read? And what are the changes this week from last week? And how do I best prioritize my energy? Because even though I was very good at using energy accounting, I needed someone to have that conversation with.
To be objective, and someone you know and trust.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, it's not something I need now, and it's not something I needed before university, because at that point, the stress level, the amount of cognitive energy I had left over was enough that I could do it myself.
Yeah.
But while studying, I needed someone else to take that cognitive load off of me. And so it's just to say that there's the time you spend on energy accounting, yes, but there's also, what do you need assistance with? That can change very much depending on the circumstances that you're in right now. And that's okay. And to actually seek that out and get what you can out of using it, even if you can't do it yourself, even if you need that sparring partner or that person to actually sit beside you and say, do you think maybe you're doing a little bit too much right now?
But the thing is, what you're describing there is, it's external to you, and this is one of the potential difficulties with energy accounting, is you have to mentally think, I need to check in and do it. What may help is, as you had a colleague or someone like that who could prompt you, is actually write in your diary a time of review. And it's non-negotiable. It means on that Friday at 2:30, I'm going to review where I am, so everybody else knows that I've got a commitment that I can't change, because otherwise gradually you'll start to sink, because you're not aware necessarily of the effects going on that's going to affect your well-being and energy levels, and you're not doing enough in terms of the infusion of energy, and you sink, you drown slowly. So check in.
That certainly can happen. It's that metaphor of the frog in the increasingly hot water.
Yes, and think this is normal. This is okay, and I'm supposed to cope with it. But you need either a person or something you see in the diary marked in red. It can be in a code. Nobody else can know about it. But that's when I need to basically check in. It's like taking the car in for the service. That's when it's got to be in for a service, for an oil change.
And just to make sure that everything's still as it should be. So it's in the beginning you may be spending quite a lot of time on energy accounting, and then as you go along it's going to get quicker, easier, more automatic, and during periods that are working quite well, you may just need to take yourself in for a service check.
Yes, and just say,
Yeah.
okay, I'm doing okay. I don't need to change anything. That's it. Take a moment or two.
Yeah.
But there may be something that you're starting to realise. This is where it's useful to talk to a person.
Yeah.
To find out that, actually, more things have started to occur. They're more powerful in your life, and you actually haven't been able to do, going to the gym, for example, a range of activities that energize you. And yep, you're looking at all sorts of excuses. You have other priorities. But what we're saying here is often the priority needs to be you.
Yeah.
And looking after yourself.
Yes.
Because you're with yourself for your whole life. And you want it to be an enjoyable life.
Yes. Yeah. So that's the take on that.
Yeah.
And that's it.
And that's it.
That's it.
So thank you for listening.
Yeah. Thank you for all the questions and for the questions that you all pose to us whenever we're out doing presentations. And
yes. And this is a series of recordings. However, there will probably be future ones where questions and issues come up. So please do provide some degree of feedback, what works and what doesn't work.
Yeah, and please do send questions along the way, and we will be
endeavour
around
to provide an answer for you.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you so much for listening.
You.